Welcome to Pizza Flicks. Today, I am going to explain a Canadian-French horror film called Even Lambs Have Teeth. In the opening scene of the movie, the promiscuous Sloane and the stern Katie are looking forward to their planned out-of-town trip. In order to save money for a shopping trip to New York City, they will labor at Ecofield Organic Farms for a month. They are picked up by Katie's police officer Uncle Jason the following morning and will spend the night at Jason and his girlfriend's house before traveling to the property. Sloane advises them to make up fake names while they are in the town while they settle into their new home. As Katie comes up with the name Ripley, Sloane comes up with the name Heather. They wind up sitting at a table with two locals who show an immediate interest in them. The two males present themselves as brothers with the names Jed and Lucas, while the two women introduce themselves using the fake names they made up the other night. Although Katie initially balks at the brothers' promise to provide her access to their place of employment, she eventually caves in response to Sloane's subdued pleading. In the end, the two enter the young man's blue pickup truck, but things don't turn out as expected. The two women are puzzled when Jed purposefully drives by the farm where Sloane and Katie are employed. Finally, they arrive. Jed and Lucas's hazy mother welcomes the two women and offers to make them tea before they go to the farm. Once inside, Katie receives a text from her police uncle and replies with the safe words they had agreed upon to let him know she is okay. In the meantime, the two enjoy some pie and tea despite knowing full well that they shouldn't. It turns out that there is a drug in their drinks, which causes them to lose their vision. When the two realize something is wrong, they immediately flee for their life. Regrettably, Jed and Lucas are able to carry them back inside after rendering them unconscious. The following day, Katie and Sloane are chained up in the midst of the woods and in a panic. As he approaches them, Jed informs them that they will be staying here and that they have been provided with the bare necessities for survival, such as clothing, a bed, and a toilet. Now that Katie and Sloane are dressed, the next scene shows Jed's boss, Boris, arriving and stealing Katie's phone to see if anyone is aware of their whereabouts. At this point, he discusses how both Sloane and Katie lied about their names and the code word she used in the text message. Finally, Katie and the salon are forced to inform him that Apple is a safety word. As soon as everything is back on track, the town sheriff arrives with his weapons drawn just as Katie and Sloane are getting ready to have a bath with makeshift showers. The sheriff, who supports human trafficking, has actually arrived to rape one of the women and turns out to be a piece of shit. Once the evil sheriff has had his full, Sloane comes to comfort Katie, who appears shaken. Uncle Jason, who lives on the opposite side of town, is becoming concerned because Katie's most recent text uses the same safe word that she used yesterday. Jed and Lucas greet a new customer once they are back within the forest. Sloane is then picked up by him and brought into the trailer. Unsurprisingly, the client has some psychotic tendencies. Returning to the cop uncle, he finally calls Sloane and Katie's place of employment and finds out that they were absent from work yesterday. He goes to look for them since he believes they are in danger. Meanwhile, because the incoming client is much sketchier than the previous one, Sloane and Katie's day is about to become worse. As the subsequent customer approaches, Jed and Lucas hastily hide their heads. Sloane is picked up and taken into the trailer by the unidentified customer. It is now Katie's chance to calm a distressed Sloane when he departs. Sloane seems to be suffering from more trauma than before. The town's nasty, perverted sheriff, who previously raped Katie, greets Uncle Jason as he enters the sheriff's office in the next scene. Here, we discover that the uncle is an FBI agent as well as a police officer. He expresses worry and is certain that his niece has been abducted. When Katie did not use a new code word in her most recent text message, the FBI uncle decides to inform the sheriff that he believes they are in trouble. The sheriff has told Jed and Lucas that Katie's uncle is an FBI agent and that she lied to them about the safe word back in the woods. Boris, the boss, orders Jed to kill them both and dump their bodies as a result. They have no idea that Katie is listening in on their talk. The FBI uncle makes the decision to go back to the cafe where he previously left off Katie and Sloane while this is going on. Then he queries the attorney about his knowledge. The barista clearly recalled the type of pickup Katie and Sloane left in. The next day, just before the kidnappers and the second customer from earlier arrives, Katie tells Sloane that they have plans to kill them. He is then left behind to keep an eye on them. As soon as she gets close enough, Katie uses this as an opportunity to charm him and rips his throat with her bare teeth. The two women then start to untie their own bonds. Soon later, the sheriff shows up, seemingly with the intention of killing them. Nevertheless, Katie and Sloane have already taken his vehicle as he exits the vehicle. In order to prepare, the two women drive back into town and head to the hardware shop. Now, some serious crap is about to happen. The cashier is then asked if he knows Boris, the man driving the blue truck, and replies that he does. Uncle Jason visited the town's vehicle insurance office today as part of his ongoing investigations on the opposite side of town. He asks who owns the blue truck after making up a tale about colliding with it by accident. Boris, the boss, has just returned home. It turns out that Katie and Sloane both surprised him and threw a number of tennis balls with spikes at him, severely hurting him, which, of course, he deserved. Now that the situation has been reversed, Boris begs for his life and offers money as payment. Uncle Jason then arrives in a vehicle in front of Boris' home. When he returns inside, Katie and Sloane start questioning him about who the man wearing the pig mask is. When Boris won't tell them, Katie and Sloane use a homemade spear they created to ram it up his rear, killing him. The moment Uncle Jason opens the door, it looks that Sloane and Katie have departed, and he is greeted by the sight of a dying Boris. Then, as a car engine roars, Jason storms outdoors. Uncle Jason rushes the dying Boris to the hospital as Katie and Sloane get into their car and leave. On the next scene, the sheriff informs Uncle Jason that Boris did not make it. Uncle Jason decides to attempt phoning Katie's phone as he becomes more and more concerned, but the sheriff pulls a gun when he realizes his cover has been blown. When Katie and Sloane arrive in front of a church, we discover that the man wearing a pig costume is actually the local priest. When Sloane enters the chapel, her rapist is right in front of her. With Katie's help, the two best friend takes him down. We can see that Katie and Sloane are now at peace and carefree as they drive away. The priest, however, is discovered to have been shackled behind the truck when they stop and get out of the car. They give him one last beating by dousing him in gasoline and setting his sim ablaze before driving off. The sheriff has Uncle Jason imprisoned while the two young women appear to be prospering. Even worse, the sheriff seems to have taken two more young women into custody. Thank goodness Sloane and Katie are here to help. The sheriff is restrained before being subjected to a game of Russian roulette. The two women are currently a little out of it. The sheriff starts apologizing just as Katie eventually knocks him out with a strike to the head. The two young women are then set free by Katie and Sloane, who also order them to release Uncle Jason. Jason tries to find out who killed the sheriff, but the women are too grateful to say anything because Sloane and Katie saved their lives. Afterwards, Katie and Sloane decide to drug Jed and Lucas's mother in the same way that she did to them a few days prior to their visit to her home. They bind her and carry her to the cellar, where Jed is also bound and muzzled. The mother is made to watch as they continue to bash in his head with a baseball bat. They then take her to Lucas, who is seated on a chair and equally worn out. They threaten to beat his own mother, but instead of beating him to death, they free him and give him a baseball bat. They shoot Lucas to death after he expresses his unwillingness. The two women then staged his body to make it appear as though he committed suicide. They intend to blame him for all of the murders. It is revealed, the mother begs them to spare her life in exchange for money out of desperation. Nevertheless, Katie took the lawnmower and viciously murdered her with it instead of sparing her. Uncle Jason arrives to Katie's residence to fetch her and Sloane up in the following scene. It seems like time has moved on. After being driven off at the airport, Katie and Sloane fly to New York City with anticipation. And this is where the movie ends. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys again in the next review. Subscribe to my channel.